Hello everyone. Today I'm going to start implementing an Agentic OS, whatever that means to you. This can also be considered harness engineering. And I've been watching a lot of other YouTube videos about creating your own Agentic OS. And I did my own research for this. It took me a few days of doing a lot of back and forth and questioning the information Claude Code was giving me. But I think I got a sane starting step that doesn't follow what a lot of other YouTubers do. It kind of cuts out a couple of things. It kind of simplifies. And I'll explain that in a second. But the big reason I'm doing this, I think it's the reason all the YouTubers are doing this, and as well as engineers, companies are doing this. It's about providing a way for your AI to have memory, to have a deep knowledge base of the things you're doing, to be able to orchestrate agents in a way that work for you 24/7, schedules, orchestrates. It knows you, it knows your preferences, it knows your guidelines. So it's a system that works for you, that you can communicate with, that improves your productivity and just helps you keep all your thoughts together. It's a true AI assistant. So it's taking things from a simple chatbot or coding agent to a workforce for you, an automated workforce. That's my dream. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's what I try to break down. And there's a ton of other YouTubers doing this. Then I love watching all their videos. It's what gave me so much inspiration. But there were a lot of weird claims and weird things. I think you saw it in my last video. I think my last video, I feel, actually had misinformation in it. And that's from really taking a lot of information off of other YouTubers' channels and trying to consolidate that. I think after looking at it a lot more deeply, that there's overlap between people who were taking from things like OpenClaw. There was also things that were just becoming echo chambers and not actual facts. There were things that everyone's like, oh, I need to use Obsidian to do this stuff. You don't. You don't need to include Obsidian at all. There was all this stuff out there. You need to have it know your identity and make it ask you like 15 to 20 questions to produce your identity file. Don't need to do that either. It's not that you don't need to do the identity file. It's that there are other ways to do it other than that. Asking you 15 weird random questions that might not fit you or how you work. And that's when I did the 15 question thing. It really generated stuff that wasn't helpful for me. So I designed this to be more minimal. And in this video, we're just going to cover the first parts of this, which is really memory and knowledge, and the first steps to make this independent of your coding agent. So you can use OpenCode or Claude Code or Codex or Cursor, Windsurf, whatever thing that you're using. You can just swap it in there. And the thing that makes that possible is the agents.md file. Yet another thing that I'm contentious with a lot of other YouTubers about, which we'll get into. They have a lot of other different files called soul or me.md or identity.md. Agents.md is the standard way that most of these agents know how to talk. So that's what we're going to be building today, a knowledge system. So we're going to do something for memory. So right now, Codex or Claude Code or OpenCode, whatever, or anti-gravity, whatever you're using. A lot of these systems, they have a limited amount of memory built in. Used to have zero memory, so every time you boot it up, it just did not know the things that you were working on before. It had no idea. It was just starting from scratch every single time. It might look at some information you have in your directory, or it might look at something in your agents.md that might report to something. And I think I've been using Claude Code a lot, and it looks at, like, I think it's starting to have its own memories, but for this harness, you want to have your own memory system. And you need to have a short-term memory so you can resume chats really quickly. The AI can go, oh, this is what we were chatting about the other day. Let me pull up that information. That needs to be fast. So that's its own memory system. And then there's the slow memory, the long-term memory, the curated memory system, which is your knowledge base. So that's what we're going to be building today, the agents.md that will decouple from your agent, your memory, your short-term memory, and your long-term memory. And that'll be the first step to decouple your coding agent and also instantiate the first meaningful bit of your Agentic OS, your AI OS, or your personal harness engineering. Yeah, so this is all experimental, by the way, and you can definitely come up with your own solutions as well. But yeah, I went through and did actually go to some academic papers and asked questions about some of these things, and had to go back and forth quite a bit to eliminate things like your identity stuff. So hopefully my research proves correct and this does good things. We'll see. But if you start doing this for yourself, remember, you need to adjust it for you. So if you hear something that I'm saying that doesn't sound like it gels with you, that's probably a great assumption for you. And you should do things differently for yourself. So definitely do things differently for yourself. And I'll definitely call out areas where I think this is stuff that I chose versus research. And also be aware that this will grow with you. So whatever you put into place, be ready to ditch it and try something else. So that's my philosophy here, is it's a system that iterates and grows. So nothing you do in the first part is going to be perfect. Nothing. Nothing I'm going to do, nothing you do, nothing any other YouTuber does, nothing's going to be perfect on the first iteration of this. You're really just giving it the skeleton to start doing things. So let's dive into this. Let me quit yapping my head off here and let's jump into this. I'm curious as well to see all the AI specking and all this and how it's going to work. So let's jump into the first thing. Let me get all prepped up here. I'm actually going to take what I'm teaching you. I'm going to create a document you can use and easily be able to take it and use it for yourself to build your own agentic OS, your own personal OS. So I will create a document from this episode and it'll be a download right down here. So go down there, you'll get the free download of the spec that I'm using for mine. You'll probably need to update it for your OS, but I'll try to keep it as generic as possible. But you'll be able to download that. Go to the show notes, you'll find the download for that. Now on to the first steps. All right, so step number one, we need to create our folder where our harness is going to live. And yeah, our harness is mainly going to be markdown files, but there will be some scripts, images, other things in there that you'll end up keeping. But for the main part, it's going to be markdown files. So step number one is creating the aios. All right, I'm going to cd into that directory. And then there's going to be two important directories that I'm going to create that are going to be the memory store and the long-term memory store. So the first one for the short-term memory, I'm going to call that memory. And for long-term memory, I'm going to create knowledge base. And there we go. So the knowledge base is long-term memory. It's going to be curated. It's going to be edited. It's going to be a big, long, giant database of information. Memory, on the other hand, is supposed to be fast, a quick lookup. So it makes it easier when you're starting a new chat to recall previous chats, things that had just happened recently, just fast access. If there are certain things in the knowledge base, it just has quick pointers to it. So quick and small, slow and large. And this is really important to get that continuous thing going with your AI interactions. So something that it always feels like it knows you, that it's getting more knowledgeable each time and it doesn't lose things. So you're not starting from scratch every time. So a very important base building block. If you do nothing else, this will most likely improve your experience. But there's still a few things we have to hook up in there first before this works. So on to the next part. A write note skill for Claude. So for this, yeah, I think I'm going to use Claude to help me out. This is about creating a skill called write note. And the point of this skill is it knows how to write information to either the short-term memory or to your knowledge base. This is probably an experimental thing. The write note skill will probably change over time, but I did start this off with like 5 or 6 skills that chose between the memory and the knowledge base, and it was doing a lot more complex things, but I revised left and right and went through this over and over and over again painfully, and I got it down to just one thing called write note, one skill called write note. And that's when I'm going to go through what we did there, and I'm going to have Claude help me out with this part. So let's get Claude going to help us out writing the skills for using Codex or OpenCode, or wherever else you're using, use that. But I'm going to use Claude here. Never did anything. Yeah, sure, I'll trust this folder. And I'm going to tell it to look up the research I've already done into this aios to give some more information on this write note skill. So you can see it. I want to have it write it, and then we're going to look at what it wrote. Okay, skipping ahead here, it read the spec I've created for creating this skill, so let's kick it off. All right, so it created the skill right here. All right, let's take a look at this. Gives us a wonderful description here, a little bit wordy, so I'm worried this description might be a little too much, but yeah, so this is just giving the description of this write note, who should outlive the current session, active project state, pointer to one of the user's own internal systems, distills knowledge, persists notes to the aios store. So there's a quick note for the AI to understand what this skill does. We got write note, persist durable knowledge. So the next session starts ahead of this one, and it describes those 2 stores we already talked about, the episodic plus profile, the knowledge base here. We don't need to review every single part of this, but I'm just going to quickly over what was created here, because this is kind of the only skill we're creating for this one thing, at least as far as I know at this point. This is the only skill that's going to be created during this video. That could change, but right now that's all it's planned. And this is to happen during your conversations. It's not going to be triggered automatically, unfortunately. This is something that we'll have to wire in later, but this is prepping the system to start being more intelligent. Yeah, so yeah, this is right here. It's telling it, hey, don't use anything that's like throwaway information. Credentials. Yeah, the secret check and not storing your credentials. That's the thing I'm worried about, is it storing credentials. So we got some stuff here, secrets check. We have regex for that. So that's something I made sure was in there. This is not something I heard YouTubers talking about, but make sure you're not storing your confidential data in either of these stores. And this also has a destination type. It's like your short-term memory or your long-term memory for this stuff. This is something I might want to revisit later. I'm kind of thinking there is maybe a unified synthesis step here, like, oh, it goes into short-term memory. Short-term memory is then turned into long-term memory, but right now I have them as 2 separate things. And yeah, some things to do, KB notes. Here's some stuff for actually adding tags in the notes. This is the way I designed that knowledge base. I'll get a little bit more into that in the next section. Actually, yeah, as soon as I show it at work, I'll get into like how I designed this knowledge base a little bit. Or actually not in the next section. I'll explain a little bit more about how this knowledge base works. Maybe a little infographic to help out with that. And yeah, it just writes to either store, the memory or the knowledge base. And also added down here, don't delete things in V1. So don't clean up. I'm being cautious in my V1, so I don't want it to do too much that I can't check and iterate on. So I tried to make this as minimal as possible, yet usable. And here it's going to give a little bit more examples and structure of what is being done. Yeah, so more information there. I think it's quite a hefty skill. So it made the skill. I'm going to see if maybe the skill might be too big. So I'm going to ask AI to review. I'm going to ask Claude to review the skill to make sure it's not too giant. So is this skill too large? What's the recommended size for a skill? And what's the recommended amount? What's the recommended size for the front matter? That's the description there. Front matter is always loaded into memory, or into context, sorry, into the agent's context. So we want to make sure that that is minimal, but still useful. Front, is the description too long? So let's see here, let's do a pass on the quality of the skill. It's important, this skill is going to be used a lot, so I want to make sure it's not doing too much at the outset. And again, this is something I'm not seeing a lot of other people doing, is like, you got to refine this stuff as you go and you got to check it out. And yeah, it's especially something as important as your personal like helper. This is your personal assistant. This is the one that's going to be doing things for you. You need to be able to trust it. And if it's not designed right, you can't trust it. So let's see what the output is here. All right. Skill too large, body, yes. There's no hard cap on the recommended size, but the guidance is like 150 to 200 words. Front matter, less than 1024. All right, our description seems to be okay. All right, so the front matter is in good shape, but could lose 30 to 4% by intact. I'm just going to choose to leave it alone for right now and tell it not to give up on this infographic. I wanted to build a nice infographic for you, but I gave up. But the AI never gives up. It's like, I'm going to give you that fucking stupid infographic, whether you like it or not. There are linters out there for your markdown files. There are checks for your skills. I'm probably going to be doing something in the future to add that stuff into this harness, but not right now. Right now, I just want to get going. It's easier to figure out how to test things once you have something minimal actually working for you. Yeah, sometimes over-engineering with a shit ton of testing at the front kind of keeps you from getting to where you need to be. I know I'm a test engineer saying this, but there's a difference between prototyping, getting to your minimal viable product to understand what's going to get something that actually works first. Then once you understand how it's working, then sometimes it's easier to start the testing there. That's not always true, but for me right now, it's easier to see how something works, iterate on it, and then start baking quality in versus doing it like this is more of a personalized thing, so it's a little bit loosey-goosey. It's also an AI thing, so it's not exactly a shipping code I'm be giving to a customer, so different quality metrics than I would apply to a hardcore engineering project. So I'm gonna leave this alone now. We'll do a skills pass in the future. So what did we do there? We just created a skill to write notes to our short-term and long-term memory. What we haven't done yet, we haven't routed agents.md yet, so Claude looks at our stuff. We haven't defined how this knowledge system is going to work so the skill can properly write things. We need some more information. A README file in the knowledge base and a README file in the memory base, so it gives it more in-depth information on how to store information on each one. I did that so it's not all living inside the skill. The skill can then just point to things as needed and then pull that context in as needed, not every single time the skill loads. On to the next section here. What do we got? Okay, actually, before I go on to step number 3, just tell you something I did with this knowledge base, the knowledge base system, to give you a little bit more context there. I don't think any of this stuff kind of goes over that knowledge base. But what I did was I took the Karpathy. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Andrej Karpathy, which I'm probably butchering his name. He's like really well-known figure in the AI space. He's like one of the founders of OpenAI. He was in Tesla's automated car stuff, and now he just joined Anthropic as one of the head guys heading some stuff. He has a lot of YouTube videos, and he comes up with these amazing ideas about AI, and usually everyone freaks out every time he opens his mouth about something, and it usually everybody ends up adopting it. So one of the things I am adopting is his LLM wiki. So it's a way of having a knowledge base where the wiki, it takes stuff and puts it raw data into a raw folder, and then it goes through, it processes that data, and then it puts it into a wiki format. And the wiki format doesn't make it so it's been curated, it's been written in a nice form, it's put into an organized fashion for long-term knowledge retrieval. The twist I put on it is I added something called Zettelkasten to these notes. So it's kind of a hybrid system that I'm creating for myself. You have Zettelkasten, which is a note-taking skill, and I just kind of borrowed one little part from this skill, so I'm not going to jump into it, but it's a way of taking notes that links ideas together. So it has a tagging system, and I think you see that kind of working in Obsidian, where you see all the little graph where it has connections to different ideas. But I wanted to have this idea of tags and links to the tags within ideas, so the AI could follow trains of thought through my knowledge base. I don't know if that'll work, but it's something I wanted to keep in there to see if it leads to any type of fun accidental discoveries. So it's my own little hybrid solution. It is the Karpathy LLM wiki combined with just the tagging system of Zettelkasten. So that's my long-term knowledge base directory stuff. And that'll be in that document that you can download in the description down below. So I put my aios, the version 1 that spec I have here, I'll have that as a download. I had the full spec in there, but the rest of the steps in that spec will not be, haven't been written out yet. This is the first video. So as these come out, I'll be updating those specs, and in order to get this, you can get on the email list, and I will send out the rest of those specs to you. And if you're already on my list, then I'll be also emailing this stuff out to you. Don't worry, you're not going to be missing out. But yeah, go down. It'll be a free link down in the show notes. Okay, and now we're getting to the actual next section. This is, it's called Wiring the Brain. This is where we use something called agents.md. All right, let's jump into it. Okay, so what are we doing here? This is the essential piece to making your personal AI OS portable. So it's not fully dependent upon Claude Code or Codex or whatever you're using. So what Claude uses is something called Claude.md. And that's its markdown file for saying it loads this file every time, and it gives the agent a general lay of the land. It's like, here's where everything is laid out. Here's where you look for things. Here's like where the memory is. Here's where my skills are. Boom, you know, or like it gives like, oh, here's some things you never do. Like don't delete a live database or something. You know, it's a system that gives you some it's very small. It's not meant to be a giant document. It's small. It loads in every single time you open your chat. And that's the important part. It loads in every time. So in order to get our stuff to work, so oops, hopefully I'm not clicking the microphone here. So what we want to do is take that outside of ClaudeMD and put it into our agents.md, and then just have Claude's ClaudeMD point to our agent.md. So we're not removing Claude's built-in settings. We're just telling it to like skip looking at its own and look at ours instead. We're just pointing it to us. The next part of that, a big part, is the skills. Usually Claude, for its global skills, keeps all the skills inside its settings, like .claude/skills, I think, and it has all the skills in there. We want our stuff to be portable, so the skills can't live with Claude. It has to live inside our aios. So we're going to end up creating a skills directory and copying all our skills over. And this is stuff we want to be careful with. We'll probably end up deleting the skills from Claude since we have them in ours. So we want to be careful here. We want to be able to back things up and, you know, make sure we can restore it if we fuck up. So yeah, we need a couple guardrails here before doing this so we can get back into what we were doing before starting. So those are the two big things. Redirecting Claude MD to look at our agents.md. Or if you're, and the reason I'm using agents.md instead of other YouTubers are out there saying use me.md or use identity.md or soul.md like OpenClaw uses. Agents.md is almost a universal standard for every coding agent or chatbot out there. If you have agents.md, it's going to look at that first regardless. So instead of creating something that is non-standard that all these things don't look at, just use the standards, agents.md. So if you, that's one thing I was looking at with all these other YouTubers saying do this stuff, and I'm like, you don't need to do that. Use the standard, agents.md. Don't make your harness work harder than it needs to. Agents.md is built in for like 90% of all this stuff. So just use agents.md. So let's jump into it. Let's kick it off and see what happens. Actually, crap, and this is kind of the danger of me doing this live, is I'm forgetting stuff. There was a part in the last section I totally forgot to do, my bad. We need to generate those readmes for the knowledge bases, so our skills MD knows what to do. So we'll do that really quick, and then we'll jump into the agents MD and the skills stuff. So let me tell Claude to do this real quick. Forgot to add the readme files for the memory, and what did we need to do according to the spec? Okay, so it's only one readme for the knowledge base here. Oh, it's the only artifact that's loaded every session. It's run every session. Oh, and it'll write it if it's absent. Ah, okay. So I have this all specced out. Again, this is something I'll give you in the show notes. You can download it after. All right, so there we go. Tell me what it's going to do. Hell yeah, write that KB readme now, and we'll look at it real quick. Here we go. Here is the readme. Here we got the synthesized durable knowledge that compounds across all projects. It's going to use a flat slug layout, one concept per file. So it's not going to create a whole bunch of crazy directory structure yet. It could in the future, but not right now. It's keeping it as simple as possible, and it will only get more complex once it needs to get more complex. Finding notes. Here's how it's going to do it. Globs and greps. Yeah. How the write note skill is going to work here. And the front matter for each of these. Cool. Very minimal. So now we get to go on to the agents MD, and it's already sitting here and ready to go. So wait a minute. Should we test out the write note first or do the agents.md first? Test write note first. Cool. I asked Claude, it said, hey, let's test it first. And I haven't tested. This is all specced out. This could be a place where it finds that write note does not work as a skill. So it's asking me to start doing a functional test of a write note. So yeah, I'm just going to let it do what it thinks is the good test. All right, so it did the functional test. Everything passed except it failed to, it tried to add a secret regex or key in there and actually tried to use my Anthropic key. And hopefully I have that blurred out everywhere, but it actually failed this. So testing these skills out as you go. I said I was going to do testing later. I think I am wrong in that assumption. I think we just kind of verify as we go. I think I need to think about that more, but for today, I'm focusing more on just getting the bare minimum running, but I think maybe I need to be a little bit more thoughtful in my testing patterns here for each step of this Agentic OS. I think maybe this is something this is definitely real. This is something I'm putting into place for my operating system right now. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that right now. I think for this video, I'm just going to plow through without a ton of quality checks. But if you're doing this on your own, maybe consider more qualities checks for the skills you're writing and whatnot, and the markdown files you're creating. All right, so now we're fixing it. I'm kind of curious. We did this. I'm recording a video for this, so we'd like to see what the results of that test was. Just let us know what, just an example of what it looks like after a write note succeeds. All right, so we got 2 files on disk now. We got something in memory, and we have the knowledge base. Let's look at these in Obsidian. All right, so we got the knowledge base now, and I added this new episodic versus semantic memory. And this is long-term stuff. So the aios keeps memory. Okay. Cool, so just basically record what we just did. Awesome, but what's the memory? Prefers concise answers. Oh, so it's getting my preferences in this short-term memory. Oh, because it loads this every time. It's always going to go to this memory, so it's also giving my preferences here. Interesting. So that's really cool to know. It's like putting the preferences in here. I did spec this out. I just forgot about it that, yeah, we want, since it reads these memories every single time, it can look at these preference files really quickly and see what your preferences are. And this is kind of goes against what other YouTubers are saying about adding your identity file. I chose instead to grow my identity organically as I'm using it because I don't know what all things it needs to know in the first place starting out. So I chose instead that I want to choose the architecture first, and then start getting into the personalization after we see it running. So the architecture is going to be like, hey, your knowledge base, your memory, and doing things automatically for you. So once that's in there, then I can start making it, you know, be a lot more personalized. But you got to get, I think you have to get the architecture first, and then you can start messing with making it more personalized. My opinion. But that's cool. So we got that. I think it looks good. I think it's working according to our spec. The next thing we need to, now we get into what I actually said at the beginning was what we're going to jump into, which is the agents.md file. I totally should have checked all this out in the last section, but okay. I thought the last section was going to be the agents.md section. There were a few things I forgot from the memory and knowledge base stuff. So I fixed those up in the last lesson. Now I'm actually going to start working on the agents.md file here. And again, what we're doing is we're taking the built-in thing of whatever coding agent you're using. It usually has its own markdown file that it loads up every single chat session it does. So it's basically, it's the thing that starts up and initializes the context of this. So we want it to point to our context, so that way if we switch out to open code or we switch out to Codex or Claude code or whatever thing is going to happen in the future, anti-gravity, Windsurf, cursor, whatever coding agent thing you're using, it will look at our agents.md and will work across the board. So that's what we're doing right now, redirecting to that. The second thing we're doing is also getting all our skills copied in locally into our harness and not the coding agent's harness, because we want it to be our skills to travel from agent to agent to agent. So that's what we're doing next. Okay, now we're moving on to the agents.md implementation. So let's get agents.md set up according to the spec. I do believe that is basically copying over what was in Claude MD, copying it over into agents.md, cleaning that up a little bit, and then we're going to take Claude MD and point it at agents.md. But before we do any of that, we're probably going to implement some of the guardrails and copy things and back it up before we mess anything up with my Claude code setup. All right, so what it did, it actually did end up copying over the the Claude MD file over to my agents.md file. But so let's look at it, let's see what is created. It's basically copying over what I already had to here, hasn't done anything else yet. And I was looking at this and it looks good. Okay, this is my personal preferences. So it gives just some, oh, what is this right here? Ah, so very first thing right here, this Claude MD, that's wrong. Because we're going to be using agents.md for our aios. So everything that's Claude MD will probably need to be changed over to agents.md. Interesting, okay. The response style is telling it how the agent should reply to me, so it's giving some basic stuff right here. Tool habits, how the agent should run tools. We'll probably end up growing that out a little. Here's some coding instructions, just basic stuff. And here is something I found, this Freedom Creator Club knowledge base. So this is just, Freedom Creator Club is a club that I'm a part of that to help someone create a business, and I do a lot of work in this, and this is like where I'm doing all my YouTube stuff. I work on it a lot, and I guess Claude thought it needed to put it in the top level global thing. That's wrong. This is loading every single session that I start, and it does not need to be in every single session. And it actually explains some weird behavior that I've been seeing because it was always going here whenever I asked it to do something else entirely unrelated projects. And it was mentioning stuff from here. So yeah, this needs to be deleted from this top level. And then I looked over here, the aios harness instructions. This seems a bit heavy-handed with all of this information. That should be in a document, not in the instructions themselves. So I don't know if the agent can use this. So the two things I'm going to talk now, I'm going to tell it to say, make sure to scrub for Claude MD references and to get rid of this Freedom Creator Club knowledge base and to clean this section up and only keep what is really needed in this top level stuff. Everything else can be in a README somewhere else as needed. Let me see if I can get that. All right, what did we get here? Okay, so what did it do? All right, it each personal preferences, agents.md. I don't know what that means here, so I got to double check. It removed that Freedom Creator Club section, and yeah, it trimmed down that giant section there. So let's look at agents.md again. All right, got Obsidian up. All right, so cool. Now it's agents.md instead of Claude MD. We didn't ask to change in this stuff. It got rid of that Freedom Creator Club stuff. And now this aios memory section is way smaller, and that's wonderful. Let's see. And it points to a different file, this harness file right here, for more information if it needs it. So agents.md here. See, let's go over this aios memory. So it's talking about the memory store and our knowledge base. And I think this is important right here. I think this is something that should be in every session because it needs to know what to do at every single point. Unless there's something we can hook up with hooks. However, I don't think the same hooks exist across all the different coding agents. So I'm not sure if there would be something that's Claude code specific versus open code specific versus Codex specific about doing this stuff. So for right now, I'm going to keep this just in this agents.md file so it knows what to do here versus it being triggered off certain events that happen with Agentic OSs. Session start. It's going to look into the memory, and it's going to dynamically get everything from the memory files. And it's also going to say, hey, read this knowledge base README to know how to use it. So memory, it's going to glob. It's going to do something directly with all the entries. That's why it's good to be small. And this is going to say, hey, this is how you use the long-term knowledge, but you don't need to read it all. And that's another good reason why I separated the two. So it doesn't clog up context. Small, large. Okay, so it's telling it how to use the right note skill that we created. And it's saying at the session end, it should be using this right note. And again, we don't have anything that actually copies into this. So, all right, and boundaries. Oh, and it's saying, yeah, all right. Ephemera under there. So any scratch stuff, doesn't create a bunch of cruft inside our aios. That stuff can get deleted. And then it gives, hey, go read this if you want to know more. Awesome. I think this is a good minimal agents.md, and it'll probably be built upon and filled out more and changed. But I think this is a good starting point. I think doing it this way is a little bit better than going through 15 random questions. So I don't know why other people are doing those 15 random questions. It must be something from OpenClaw or Hermes or some other person said do this, but I could not find any information. But I think this is a good minimal. Keep it good and minimal. Try to put things into longer documents outside of this agents.md whenever necessary. But let's go on to the next step. The next step right now is going to be tying it all in and actually having Claude MD reference this. All right, so the next step for all of this is wiring Claude MD, the global Claude MD, to look at our agents.md instead. And I think that's what this is asking for right here, to do the symlink step. I don't know what it's doing here, so I'm going to ask it and make sure it's doing the right thing. What do you... All right, I might cut this part out of the video. What do you mean by symlink step? Don't do it yet. Explain to me what you are doing. Oh, okay, so I see what's happening here. It's using a symlink. I think I've seen everyone else say, hey, this Claude MD file should just tell the agent to go look at this file. But what I think my system is doing is symlinking it to this aios agents.md, which is creating a symbolic link from this file to this file. So Claude Code just sees Claude MD, but in reality, it's agents.md. And it's also doing a backup right here for me, which I do appreciate. Please back shit up for me. Low risk, fully reversible. Go for it. This part is the scary part. This is the part that actually changes Claude to look at our new aios. So, okay. All right, so it did it. And here it says you have to restart the harness. So in order for this to happen, I need to restart. So I'm going to restart and resume from where I left off on this. Oh, never mind. Hang on. I just read right here that I need to wire in the skills first before I restart this session. So let's wire in these skills really quick. Let's set up the skills symlink next. So before, we had all the skills are living in a top level thing with Claude. So Claude has its own folder, its top level folder, and it houses all the skills it's writing there that are global, are inside its own settings directory. So what I'm doing with this is I'm creating my own skills directory. I'm copying everything out of Claude, and then inside of Claude's skills directory, I'm just doing another symlink to my skills directory. So from Claude Code's point of view, everything looks fine. It looks like it's seeing a Claude MD file, and it looks like it's seeing skills in its directory. But what's really happening is it's just pointing to my harness instead, and Claude just isn't the wiser for it, really. And that helps us keep our skills independent of our coding agents. All right, so it says this harness is now functionally wired into Claude Code. I'm going to restart Claude Code and resume the session and see what happens and see where we're at. I'm going to tell it I'm ending the chat first, and I'm about to restart to see if it tells me anything I need to do first. See, I am ending this chat right now so I can restart the session. I'm going to restart the session and resume where we left off. I'm doing this so we can load the new skills and the new agents.md and see if everything is working. Something I've been doing lately is just telling it I'm ending the chat before actually ending my chat. Sometimes there's extra things I wanted to write down or do before I actually end the chat, or write some memory or update memory. So that's what I've been doing in a lot of my chats lately. And I think that's because I don't have it wired up correctly to automatically do that. So anything you find yourself manually doing over and over and over again, there's probably a way to make it automated. Oh, yeah, it's actually using our new memory thing to write out what we're doing. So it's already starting to do it because it's not wired in yet, but this session is aware of it. So it's already wiring in and using write note. That's cool. So it hasn't even really started working yet and it's already using it. So it saved the information. I'm just going to double check what information it saved. I'm kind of curious how this system's working. So yeah. Oh, so the session, I told it I'm ending the session, so it recorded this information here. Oh yeah, so it's just a brief note on everything we did, why we're restarting, the open threads, and notes. Has a pointer here to this harness status. Cool. I am going to reboot. Okay, I finished restarting Claude. So that means our new skills and our new agents.md should be hooked up via the symlinks. What can you do to check to make sure this is working? All right, let's check it out here. It says everything's working. All the checks pass. But it did give me a couple things to check here. So what's my response style preference? If I ask that, it should load the right thing. I'm also going to check all the skills to see if the skills loaded correctly. Cool, it seemed to work. It got the right thing, and that's exactly what we have in that preferences file that we looked at earlier. Nice. I'm also going to do a quick skills. And this should... Oh yeah, it's seeing all the skills. Let's see. Whoop. I'm going to go over here and look at... Cool, it has all these skills, but what about our Claude? Claude skills. Whoops. It looks exactly the same. That's awesome. We just now need to do the real safety nets. So I'm going to go to the next section, which is on snapshotting. So if anything goes wrong, we have snapshots we can restore from. So we're going to get into that in the next section. Because it's very important. You want to go backwards if you mess something up now. You want to be able to get rid of it and go back to a working state. Okay, so this next section is going to be on snapshots. It's experimental for me. I haven't done this before. I went through a few different things, but kind of settled on these snapshots. What this is about is just backing up and making little backups of where we're at. The important thing is to, one, it's easy to, like, I can copy the backup over to Dropbox or somewhere, and I can always restore it if my whole computer dies. That's a big important thing. Your computer dies, you can recreate your whole personal harness. The second thing is being able to go back in time. So if you have snapshots, you can easily just go bunk, 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 and go back in time. So it's like if something suddenly starts working like garbage, like whatever update you did something to your agents.md file, or you added some crazy weird skills, or you corrupted something, the snapshot will let you go backwards in time. And you can choose which one and restore it. So that's what we're going to put into place here. Some snapshots so we can back up and restore. But letting you know, I'm doing this for Fedora. It's a Linux OS. There's going to be different backup mechanisms for your operating system, for Windows or Mac OS. And I did look it up. Okay, so the other options for that are just work across any operating system. I'm not trying it for this. I'm just throwing it out there for you to try if you want to. The tool that AI keeps recommending, which I've never used, is called Restic. R-E-S-T-I-C, Restic. And it's a portable encrypted thing that will help give you snapshots of your system. The other thing you can use is also Git, just plain old Git. I researched it and I decided not to use Git because Git, it gets things dirty really easy. You get into writing into branches or things are not committing. And if you have a whole bunch of agents operating at the same time, they can conflict with each other. And I had to do all this coding and all this back and forth with AI to try to make Git work, to the point I ditched it. I was like, no, for what we're doing, we can come back to Git later, but for what we're doing, you need a way to do this where our backup mechanism doesn't get in the way of us. I also said don't do this inside a cloud system. Like, don't do it inside your Dropbox or OneDrive or Box or whatever you're using as like your cloud backup. Don't do this inside your cloud backup. It sounds like a great idea because all your stuff's going to be backed up instantly. Unfortunately, those cloud things are always syncing in the background. And I found that when you're doing a whole bunch of like AI stuff, it ends up conflicting with those services. They're syncing at the same time you're writing and you're constantly doing this stuff, and they block each other. They end up like conflicting with each other and causing your AI to have to retry over and over and over and over again. So keep your AI OS outside of those cloud agents. I would highly recommend that, and implement something that's just a plain like copy. Do your own research on this one for what works best for your operating system. Restic is something that they said was operating system independent. I've never used it. I don't know how well it works, so I would research if it actually works well with multi-threaded writes. But I think it's just it does a one thing and just backs up at like certain points in time, but just research it a little bit and know if it's a good option for you. But the cloud is options like Dropbox and whatnot are great for this to back up to. So copy it to your cloud drive. Just don't run it from your cloud drive. So what I'm going to be using for Fedora then is something called btrfs. Do I know what that is? Not at all. It has FS in there, so I assume it means file system. So let's jump into setting up these snapshots really quick. It's very specific to my Fedora, so you might want to skip. You can skip this for yourself, but I'm gonna try to implement it. All right, before I go on, give me a brief explanation of what btrfs is. RFS stand for? Saw it. It popped it out there and then it edited it and didn't say it. Oh, it's commonly pronounced btrfs. I like that. btrfs. Okay, so I'm going to use btrfs. Oh, which is a binary tree file system. Self-balancing data structure. Cool. Go back to my algorithm days in computer science. Cool. And does snapshots. So this is like a file system specific type of snapshotting. And it does a very good job of doing that. It compresses, has integrity checks, it does all that good stuff. So it's my btrfs. I'm so happy it's called btrfs. I don't know why, it just made me smile. Yeah, so Linux only, and the Restic is the other option. Okay, so cool. Enough of that. Yeah, set up that snapshot guardrail next. Let's do this. So I set it up so these snapshots are going to happen without me. That's how well, I don't know if it's going to be set up. Hopefully by the end of this, these snapshots happen without me. It's going to happen on a systemd user timer every 15 minutes or so. So you do have potential to lose 15 minutes worth of a session if something goes wrong. But I'm okay with 15 minutes lost. Yeah, apparently it's a really fast. That's why I chose this btrfs. It's a fast way of doing a snapshot really quick. It's scriptable, but just saying that there are operating system specific things. So if you do upgrade your OS or go to a different OS and still want to use the system, this is something to be aware of. All right, where are we at here? It did it. Snapshots. All right, so the core harness, this is basically complete. These extra steps you're seeing right here are basically for me, not for you. We're basically set up now. We got all the things wired in. We got our memory all set up. We got our agents.md set up. We got our snapshotting system set up. I think this is good to go. We just proved that restarting it, it was able to load up all the skills correctly. This last part is just proving that it works and just showing a quick proof of concept is that I'm going to start I'm going to ask one chat session to remember something about me, and then I'll start a completely brand new chat session and then ask me a question about what I just wrote in that other session, and it should be able to tell me what's going on. So let me create a new chat session here. So how I'm going to do this is I'm not going to run it from that aios directory where we were doing it before. I'm going to choose a completely different project. Whoop. So I'm going to make something called foobar. I'm going to cd into foobar, and then I'm going to start Claude here. I'm going to say, I really love... I don't think we've hooked anything up yet, so I don't think this write note thing is going to happen automatically. So I'm going to put this here. I really love spooky things, 80s horror, and goth stuff. I also love retro horror comics and their visual styles. I don't know what Claude's going to do with that information. Oh, it automatically did it. Look, it said, I'll save these interests so they carry across sessions. And this is a completely different directory. I didn't give it any other prompts except for this, so it actually loaded our agents.md and it remembered to write things down. So it's asking me if I want to build or work on anything. Well, let's see. Did it write this down in our memory? There we go. It just saved it. I guess my Obsidian wasn't refreshing. Maybe your Obsidian is not a good viewer for markdown files. Anyway, yeah, it recorded this. Says when it was captured. No links or anything. I'm going to exit out of this. All right, I'm going to go to a completely different project now. Make dir Bowie rules. cd to Bowie rules. And then Claude. What kind of things do I like? I'm curious what it's going to say. Kind of scared of this one. Cool, it did it. Aesthetic tastes, likes my working preferences. So it joined a couple of the memory files in there and plugged it into here. Very cool. Wait a minute, how does it know I like synthwave? That's creepy. I was listening to some 80s synthwave. How do you know? Okay. And so when AI knows too much about you and you don't know how it knows this much about you, a little worrisome. At least I'm running with bypass permissions on, so it has complete and total access to every single thing in my life. Nothing can go wrong. But no, this is very cool. It saw the note, it saw the memory, it was able to load it. So that means our agents.md is working, our memory is working, our knowledge base, we've proven that was working earlier. So I think we got a good starting point. We also have our snapshots. I'm going to verify in about like 15 minutes or so that the snapshot was backed up. So I'm going to come back here in 15 minutes and see what happens. I see over here, I looked at our snapshots. We have it under .aios. There's another directory we have called snapshots. And now we have two different snapshots in here. I'm going to see what's in this snapshot because I think that new likes of my horror goth stuff is in this snapshot, not this one. And then I'm going to practice, and then I'm going to see if we can revert back to an older snapshot and see what happens. Okay, let's, I see that a new snapshot happened. Let's check the new snapshot to see if it recorded things correctly. After that, let's then revert to the older snapshot and see what the difference is. Okay, so I'm doing this. Here's an aside. I see a lot of companies do this. They do backup mechanisms. Never test them. And guess what? Whenever everything fails and shit hits the fan, that untested backup system is broken. Always. It never works. No one tests it. No one wants to test it. Always test your backup systems because things are going to get deleted. Things are going to get destroyed. Your computer is going to just blow up one day and you don't know why. Always test your backups, especially if you're doing something in a company. And if you notice that your company is not prepared for catastrophic situations and not testing catastrophic situations, you should definitely raise your hand at a meeting and say, hey guys, this could screw us. back to what we were doing. All right, so it's asked me now, do I just want to do the one file difference or the full store revert? I'm going to do the full store revert, see what happens. Okay, it said it rolled everything back. All right, it says, so our couple of things I did, one thing I did off camera. I'm looking under memory here, and before we had that goth user preference, but that was only backed up more recently, so this doesn't have it. I actually reverted to the initial backup, which did not have that note, so this is showing that things are changing, and I'm sure there's a couple other changes as well. But I'm going to go back here and ask it to go back forward and see if it restores that memory. Restored, let's see. Oh, there we go. We got that user horror goth taste markdown file back. So that shows that we can now switch back and forth from older snapshots. I think we have a very initial working Agentic OS. So what we accomplished here is pretty fun. It's a fun way of, and it's delving into the whole harness engineering. So even though I'm doing this for a personal OS, you can imagine we can extrapolate this, we can extend this out to other concepts like harness engineering for our work, harness and engineering for our team, for our organization. We can have different levels of these things. But doing it with your own system first helps you personally be really productive. But these are good skills to learn. I'm learning a lot here just on how to handle this and make my own harness to make AI work for me instead of me working for AI. Yeah, so what we did, we got our own memory system working with short-term memory and long-term memory. We got our agents.md hooked up, so therefore we can use any other coding agent we want. We have our skills copied over, so the skills live in our harness and not in the coding agent's harness. And this decouples us quite a bit from that coding agent and now puts everything into our harness, which gives us more control, which gives us the opportunity to switch between different coding agents. And that's amazing. That's good stuff. It's not 100% complete yet. Like the things we're missing right now, we don't have like the good, like it always triggers recording those memories. It's constantly writing to that, the full knowledge thing. I think we have to actually tell it to write sometimes. We probably want to make sure that it's summarizing sessions by the end of the session. Probably tell it, write note, write note all the time. But that's okay. The next few videos, we'll start getting to that. What you want to do with this stuff is not over-engineer. It's to get the most minimal working thing possible. And that's what we did right here. It's very minimal. It's working. We can now move forward with this. Nothing's broken. So we haven't destroyed anything with how Claude code works. We just proved that. We just worked and it worked fine. It wasn't blowing up or dying or doing anything weird. Yeah, we just have to keep an eye on it. You want to iterate, and when you see weird things, you want to fix it. Don't assume everything's working right, because this is an iterative process. We start very small, very easy, and then we'll see how it works. And a lot of what starts working could be a personal choice. So even though we're building this out together, realize at any point you can diverge from what I'm saying. This is just kind of the research I've done and kind of put it down into something smaller than when I see a lot of other YouTubers recommending. So really, just get your memory and skills set up first. All right, what do you think? Have you tried any of this? Have you tried something else and it didn't work? Or do you think I'm missing something? Am I off base here? Am I missing some piece of information that I should have done before that? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you would use this. Yeah, I'd love to hear back from you. Tell me your experiences with this, and or if this is a new concept, you know, just let me know. You're blown away, dude. Yeah, I'd like to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. Again, while you're scrolling down there, make sure you check the description. I'm putting what we did today in this video as a downloadable spec. So I'm gonna have to go through, I'm gonna clean some things up after this video, and I'm gonna make that so you can download it. So look for downloading this Agentic OS spec. The part that we did in here is going to be fully kind of wired into that spec. The future parts of that are not so much, so we'll be building it out as we go. So you probably want to check back to get up-to-date specs. But as soon as you go down there and download that, you will be set up to be in the loop. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching up to this point. Yeah, and definitely still go into the comments, let me know any thoughts you have, anything you want to see in the future. Thank you for watching. Now, please watch this next video. When you pair what happens in this video with this video, it's going to be so much more powerful. You're going to learn so much more. You're going to be an AI super warrior person thing. Happy testing!